38 qualified leads in 1 month, 15 seller appointments, 3 contracts at $5,000 in ad spend. Real homeowners who filled out a form looking for an offer. This is the whole campaign from start to finish, from the targeting and the ads to the landing page, booking page, and the follow-up that gets sellers to actually answer. If you've ever ended a month not knowing where the next contract comes from, that's what this fixes. What you're looking at right now is the visual representation of a pipeline. This, your water, which represents your client or your lead, travels through the entire pipeline and ends out on the other end without issues in an ideal world. Practically, in the real world, you're going to have one, if not more than one of these pipes leaking. It's your job to identify where your leaks are coming from. And like I said in the video, we're going to break down each of these different pipes, why there are leaks in them, and how we can actually patch those leaks to have a fully functioning, running pipeline that actually scales your business. So the first thing we'll look at is the ad itself. This is the most important aspect of your ad. The first leak, and arguably the largest leak I see in wholesale businesses, are the ad itself. The reason for this is because you allow way too many people to come into your pipeline. What does that mean? Well, a lot of wholesalers will run generic ads that attract people that have already listed with an agent, have already sold their property, or are going through FSBO on their own, and they don't have any pain, and they're literally just curious. And so they wonder, like, hey, maybe it's my headline that's not working well, or maybe I should change something about the booking page, or is it the thank you page? Is it the testimonials, or is it the sales team? And while all of these definitely can make or break the entirety of your sales process, typically it's the ad itself. And I want you to look at it like this. Let's say, for example, you specialize in finding probate properties for people that have inherited a home. And you're, let's say, running an ad that says, we will buy houses for cash no matter the condition it's in. And for example, in that market, for whatever reason, at a particular couple set of months, a lot of landlords that are tired decide to opt in because, they want to sell their property without the hassle, without the fees, etc. And you can't help them because your sales process and your team isn't trained on dealing with these people. Your opt-in page brings them in because you don't disqualify them, and your booking page allows them in naturally just because the opt-in page allowed them in. And so when they hop on the sales calls, you're not closing any deals because your ICP isn't the one that's actually being called out. So what do you do to solve this? Well, it's very simple. It's not easy. It's not intuitive, but it's very simple. And the way we do this is through the hook, story, close framework. The hook's job, which is 80% of the ad success, is to call out your ICP. So let's say, for example, you are looking for probate properties in the state of Georgia. You're not looking for nationwide, etc. Watch the way that this specific ad handles the ICP call out and calls out the actual person you're looking for.
Georgia homeowners, if you're stuck in probate and just want to sell the house, settle the estate, and move on with your life, we can help.
So what did we do? We called out people that are in probate, the process of it. They want to settle the estate, so they have the emotional burden of carrying the property, and they just want to be done with it. We've now called them out and addressed the pain point. And this is only going to attract those who are actively in that situation. We're not going to attract people that are tired landlords. We're attracting inherited property homeowners in Georgia who actively want to settle the estate because they're in probate. And so it's as simple as that. The next step is the story. And essentially the story is as simple as just calling out the benefits of your service, not who you are and why you're so great. You want to touch on why your offer solves their problems. So what does that look like? No cleanouts, no repairs, no fees. We can close on your timeline or in as little as 14 days, for example. And these solve the objections and the stress and the burden of what your ICP is looking at. And so you're resonating with them, and this is what keeps them attracted. This is what gets them to click. Now, what tips them over the edge is your call to action. So you give them a clear set of instructions on what to do next. So click the button below, fill out a few quick questions on a form. It takes less than 30 seconds, and we'll get you a cash offer in less than 24 hours. Simple as that. Now they have clear next step instructions. They're going to click the button. They're going to expect to land on a landing page where they can fill out a form that's less than 30 seconds. So it's really fast for them. And Once they fill it out, they're going to get a cash offer in a desirable time frame so that they're not stressed out wondering when you're going to contact them back. So now that you have a properly positioned ad, we can now move into the leaks on the landing page itself. So let's jump onto it. Now getting into the landing page, the second biggest leak that I see when it comes to the landing page is your headline and your subheadline. If your subheadline and your headline don't match the promise set on the ad, this builds a lot of skepticism, which is why if they even end up booking a call with you, there's a lot of skepticism on the actual phone calls. Whereas if you're promising them something on the ad and they see the headline and the subheadline being congruent with what you're saying on the ad, this is what increases trust and decreases the friction or the objection handling that's going to be required for your sales team when they hop on to an appointment with them. So that's one simple and high leverage fix. The next is the form, which we're going to break down in a second, and just the rest of the stuff on a landing page, typically just best practices, having video testimonials, and then just basically your simple process on how you actually perform and how your business works, and then a comparison chart with you, why selling with you versus an agent is better. Simple as that. Now, the form is equally as important as this, your headline and your subheadline. And we're going to explain why in a simple manner. You want your form to also fulfill the promise that was stated on the ad itself. So what did we say? The form takes less than 30 seconds. So filling out your property address and your phone number will take less than 30 seconds. That will take, 15, 20 seconds. And this is what's going to get them to commit to this. Now, this isn't the last question on the form, obviously, but this is what's called a two-step form, where the first form gets a certain amount of information, and your team, within sub 5 minutes, can contact this person if they don't fill out the rest of the form. But you don't want to have all of your questions on one page, because if they see this, that's going to overload them. They're going to say, oh my God, there's so many questions. And they said it was going to take 30 seconds. And, now I'm just going to get off the page and this is too much work. And, I'm already in a stressful situation and I don't want to do this. Whereas if you do a multi-step or a two-step multi-step form, this increases the probability of them actually completing the form. And this is what's going to get you more and more clients in the door. So 1, 2, 3, test street. They're going to fill this out. And then they can put in a phone number, get a cash offer. Simple as that. Now they're redirected to another page where they can fill out more questions. The secret with this is to have one question per page to make it seem very simple, and also make it multiple choice so they only have to click. This is what makes it 30 seconds. So help us out with a few more details. Is your property listed? Yes or no? This is serving multiple purposes. If their property is listed, you can disqualify them and say, sorry, we're not taking on any more clients, or we're not taking any clients who have their property listed with an agent. If you don't, call us back at, XYZ number. Now, if they don't have the property listed, they can continue working. So how quickly you're looking to sell the property, as quickly as possible. What's the property's current condition? And then great, where should we send your cash offer? Now, what you can do is have their first, last name, email, and phone, and now you have all of their information, and you can get them to book a call directly in the calendar. Now, when you give them a call, they're more inclined to talk to you on the phone, and this is the part I wanted to mention, because a lot of people get this misconstrued. They think, oh my God, there's all these questions on the form. Why can't we just have the initial form of the property address and phone number and collect it when you're on the phone? Here's the difference. When somebody fills out a form and willingly submits their information, two things are going on. They've micro-committed each step of the way, so they have the agency, or they feel as if they have the agency of making their own decisions. Whereas it's much more interrogative when you call them and start asking them more information when they've only given you limited information. So that's the first psychological principle. And that's why your cost per contract lowers, when intuitively you'd think, I add more questions on the form, therefore I'm going to get less people, which is true to some degree, but you're not going to get less qualified people. Whereas if you just have the property address and the phone number, you will have a ton of leads, but they're not going to be qualified. If you have the qualified form, you're going to get qualified leads. And here's the mind-blowing part. You will get more qualified leads with the form than if you had just this. And what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, you just use this form, the property address and phone number. You had, let's say, 100 leads come in with this form, and 20 of them ended up, being qualified. Whereas, let's say with the other form, that cut your lead flow in half to 50. Data has shown that 30 to 35 of those leads would actually be qualified just because of the psychological principles of the micro commitments of filling out the form and submitting their own information. So what does this mean? In simple, A, have a two-step, multi-step form, and ensure that you have one question per page or one question per answer. And this will actually increase the amount of qualified leads that come into your pipeline. So yes, your cost per lead will rise, but your cost per contract will fall. Now, the next section is your booking page. Now, a lot of people have different setups. Let's say they filled out the information and then you have a booking page redirected after, let's say, that form that we just showed was filled out. That's fine. Some people give a call and they book them directly on the phone with their sales process and their sales team. That's fine. And you can use any booking software, Google Meet, Google Calendar, Calendly, whatever you use, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you get them on the phone. And this is not really where most of the leaks are concerned, but some people don't have a booking page, and just implementing one is honestly, going to be night and day difference because they commit to a time and you can set appointments up, and it just makes it incredibly easy, and it builds trust when you set expectations. Then obviously you have a thank you page. You want to also, on the thank you page, typically just have your testimonials, set expectations again, and the goal is to just build some more trust. And then the last thing is the sales process. So on the back end, there are really only a couple of principles when it comes to the leaks, when it comes to your sales team. The biggest is speed to lead. If you are contacting people, like several hours after the lead comes in, let's say 12 to 15 hours after the lead comes in, this decreases the response rate by 300%. If you contact them within 5 minutes of opting in, this inversely increases response rate by 350%. So what does this mean? Well, you want to get to leads as soon as they come in. It's as simple as that. And typically what I see, honestly, is yes, you want your sales team to be trained on handling objections. You want them to be trained on how to approach different situations based on the conditions of the property, based on the life scenario that they're in. All of these things matter 100%. Most of the time, however, your ad is not attracting the ICP that you're looking for, and your opt-in page is not qualifying and filtering out the people that are actually needed for your sales team to do their best work. If we have to rank the importance of the leaks in the pipeline and where things are actually going wrong to see a successful running pipeline, typically it starts at the ad and then ends up being within the filtration process of the opt-in page. This is just based on data, and it's what I've seen over the course of the 3.5 years of me running YouTube ads. Now, if you're interested in YouTube ads and the entirety of this pipeline more in depth, I've created an end-to-end tutorial going over exactly that, from scripting your ads to the actual creation of the ads to scaling your campaigns. And you can find that right here. That aside, that's the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.